Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This video, we're looking at the Monday slate. We have 6 games tonight, starting at 8 p.m. So let's get started. Hopefully, you guys all had a good weekend. Have a decently sized slate to start off the week. So let's get into it. As always, appreciate if you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. You can follow me on Twitter at the DFS Process for updates. And let's get started. So looking at the top here at point guard, we have Luka Doncic at 11-4. The Mavs have had a few days off. They haven't played since the 14th, so quite a bit of layoff for them. Um, but I think that sometimes it can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing. A guy like Luka was really hot before that in terms of his shots were falling. He was getting a lot of assists, rebounds. I still think he'll be able to kind of come back, and maybe that break will help him keep his legs fresh. It's a good spot against Memphis. They rested a lot of their players yesterday, but I'm expecting them to be able to put up some points here against this Grizzlies defense. Luke has been playing his best basketball this season before that, for like that week off that they had. And I think he can continue it. He's 11-4. There are a lot of spend ups on the slate with him, Lillard, LeBron. You have Westbrook. We have like Levine, Beal. So a ton of spend ups. But Luke is probably at the top of that list. So looks like a great play today. I'd like him and Lillard, both guys look appealing. Lillard's been playing great. His price tag is almost 11,000. I still lean to, probably still lean to Luka, but I think Lillard can make a case if you're feeling it. He's been shooting the ball a ton, 25, 28, and 30 shot attempts. The games have been pretty fast paced the last couple with against the Wizards, Pelicans, and Thunder. It's another spot where the Suns are kind of a different matchup than them. They play a bit slower and they play a lot better defense than those couple teams that he's faced recently. So for that reason, I probably lean to Luka, but both guys are most definitely in play on a 6 game slate. LeBron's looking like one of the better spend ups as well. 10-4 against the Wizards, one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. Plays super fast. The Lakers should be able to put up a ton of points. Tough matchup from him last game. Almost had a triple double, which would have really saved his fantasy score, but only made 33% of his shots. So, only made 1 of 8 from three. Still was okay with 46 fantasy points, not what you wanted, but it's just a completely different spot going up against Miami to facing Washington. LeBron looks like my favorite spend up of the slate. So love LeBron, like him more than Westbrook. You have Donovan Mitchell, 87. His price tag has gone up. He's been playing better recently, but we just had Mike Conley made his return last game, and I don't feel great about paying this much for Donovan Mitchell on this type of slate just because I'd rather go all the way up for like LeBron, Luka, Lillard. So paying 87 for Mitchell is not something I really want to do. LaMelo is 86. Tough game from him. He was in foul trouble at the start. Couldn't really get into rhythm. It's a really tough spot going up against this Utah defense on the road. Don't have much interest in $8,600 for LaMelo Ball. And then we have Rozier, who's been playing lights out. He's 81. We have SGA at 84. I like SGA today. He's had a good game last time. It was a back-to-back yesterday, but Al Horford should be sitting today, which will open up a little bit more usage for the rest of the starters. And SGA just looked good out there yesterday against Cleveland. It's a mediocre matchup against the Heat, a pretty tough one recently, but the Heat could be missing some pieces like Tyler Hero, which would keep this game closer. And if we do get full minutes out of SG, I think he'll be able to return value at 84. So he's one of the guys I'm looking at. I like him more than Rozier. Rozier's been playing great recently, but I just can't count on him shooting this well going forward, like 60 plus percent, 3 out of 4 games recently. He made 70+% of his threes last game. Gordon Hayward had a down game. Also, we saw LaMelo have a down game. So, a couple of those guys pick up the slack. It's going to hurt from Rozier, and I don't really want to pay 81 against this Utah defense. Guy that I do like a lot is Chris Paul. He's 7,800 against Portland. A great spot for the Suns. They've been playing just so great recently. They held the Grizzlies to like under, I think maybe like 6 points for most of the fourth. They probably got like to like 10 or 12 by the end of it, but they really held them out in the fourth. And Paul's been absolutely lighting it up. Only played 22 minutes because that game got out of hand, but he's been playing 31, 35 in close games. Been playing really well. Spot where it should be a close game here. Portland has been playing really well thanks to Lillard and keeping his team in it. And Phoenix just on a roll right now. So I do like Chris Paul. It's a great spot compared to some of the other guys in the 7K range, 8K range. I like his matchup a ton. John Wall looks fine, 8,000. DeMarcus Cousins is gonna. They said they're gonna try to trade him recently or let him go. He's listed questionable. I don't think he'll play. Like, why would they want to play him when they're going to try to get rid of him? So that would open up a little bit for Don Wall with Oladipo still doubtful. He's 8,000, so he's not super cheap. It's fine. Like, Houston's a tough team to play because Silas plays a lot of guys, and if his starters aren't really giving him a lot of if starters aren't really doing anything, he has no problem going with the bench. So I think he looks okay. I'd rather go to Chris Paul over John Wall today. John Morant, 75 is decent, but I like Paul a little bit more. If you wanted to go to Morant, nothing's wrong with that. 6K range, you have Gordon and Kobe White. Both guys are fine mid-range plays, but neither one I'm really dying to get to. We have Kendrick Nunn at 57. I think he looks like a good cheap play. Assuming Tyler Hero doesn't play today, left the game with a hip injury. If he's out, then open up a lot more minutes for Nunn, get a lot more usage when he's out there. And he's only 5,700. It's a good spot against OKC. So I feel like I do want to get some exposure to a guy like Kendrick Nunn and some exposure to the Heat if they're going to be missing Hero, because that is a lot of usage and minutes to go around. So I like Kendrick Nunn, Chris Paul to start out this build. For value at point guard, we're looking at like Maladon at 4,400, Satoransky, Caruso, some mediocre plays, but nothing that really, there's no cheap value play right now that I'm really looking at. At shooting guard, it's Bradley Beal, Levine as your two 9K options here. Don't want to pay almost 10,000 for Bradley Beal. Levine's fine at 95 because it's a great spot against Chicago, and he's been absolutely lighting it up, shooting the ball amazing recently. And Houston plays fast. And their defense has been good on the season as a whole, but they've kind of been falling off recently. So don't mind going to Levine at 9,500. We have SGA, who I like at 84. I'd rather go Chris Paul than Devin Booker just because Paul gives you more assist upside and just a little bit more peripheral upside. And now for value at shooting guard, it's really like you have not a lot that I really think in the 5K range at least. Like Allen is already priced up to 52 with Brooks out, so he's kind of priced where he should be. Ingles is no longer like a guy that I really want to get to with Conley back just because they have a lot of bodies now. Clarkson is above 6,000, so he's not a guy I'm looking at. So below 5,000 in the 4K range, you can look to David Nwaba at 4,600. We can look to like maybe Caruso at 4,000. But I think some of these Lakers guys are a bit interesting with Wesley Matthews and KCP. Both are in great spots against this Washington team. Both are getting a lot more minutes without Davis. Especially KCP is a guy that I like a little bit more than Matthews just because Matthews can just go out there and do nothing. Same thing with KCP, but at least he has shown a little bit more this season. The 3,900 at a shooting guard position where it doesn't have a lot of guys in the 5 and 6K range that I really think look that appealing. I don't mind going all the way down to like a KCP here. Against Washington, a guy that, if he's playing well, will get 30-plus minutes, can get up to like 35, take some shots, get some steals and stuff like that, get some rebounds. Overall, such a good spotlight. Lakers should be able to put up more points than their average this year. If they put up 120, I could see KCP probably chipping in at least more than 10, and if he does that, probably will be able to hit you value at 3,900. Moving on to small forward, it's LeBron at the top, who I really want to get to. LeBron at 10-4 against Washington, just probably a no-brainer for cash. Looks great for tournaments as well. You have Jimmy Butler also looks solid if there's no Tyler Hero at 9,200. We have Tate if DeMarcus Cousins doesn't play, which I don't think he will. He's 59. He will get an uptick in minutes. Kyle Anderson been killing it recently, 66. Bertans is a guy that such a tournament option because he's been playing a lot more minutes recently, but he can also put up 13 fantasy points. He can put up 40, 50. So he's a guy, a tough matchup against the Lakers. For only tournaments, I'm not looking at him in cash games here. Covington got another great game with the steals and blocks at 6 combined steals and blocks. Last game played 35 minutes. He's been playing a lot better. He looks fine. Matchup isn't the easiest one against Phoenix, but in the 6K range, you have Kyle Anderson, Covington. So I really don't think he looks that bad here. And then value at this position, it's besides like Williams is 51, so he's priced up already. Dort is 51. Don't really want to get to that. They already priced up Derrick Jones Jr. up to 5,000, so not a lot of cheap plays in the mid-range at small forward that I really want to get to. We have David Nwaba, who looks fine at 46. And then you can look to some of these Lakers value with Taylor Horton-Tucker, Wesley Matthews, and that's it. Power forward, we have Kristaps, 85. It's a great spot to get some exposure to the Dallas Mavs if you can't get up to Luka. Probably get to, at least want to maybe try to get to one of the pieces. You can look to Kristaps at 8,500. Gordon Hayward is 71. Going back to Utah, former team, maybe some revenge on his mind, but he's not been playing the best. And with LaMelo Ball taking a lot of usage, Rozier taking a lot of usage, I just don't think I really want to get to that in that tough matchup here. We got Thaddeus Young at only 58. His minutes have been down, but the playing time, the production has been there. So, looks okay at 58. Great spot against Houston, especially if they go with PJ Tucker at the 5. We could see some Thaddeus Young center lineups here. And then you have Isaiah Roby at 4,900. He will start today, assuming Horford sits on a back-to-back, who he's basically sat on every back-to-back this year. So, he's 4,900 against the Miami Heat. Mashing up against Kelly Olynyk, not the worst in the world. Hopefully they put Bazley on Adebayo because Roby does have some foul tendencies, and if he gets into foul trouble, then probably won't be able to hit you value. But if he say that's out of foul trouble, he can push up to like 28, 30 minutes, and 49 is still a good price tag for a guy to hit value. So I think he looks like a decent power forward option just because he's underpriced given the fact that Horford will sit. And then last but not least, at center, we have Bam at 88. We have Kristaps at 85. I like Kristaps a little bit more. Both guys are in play in the 7K range. I like Gobert at only 74 against the Charlotte front court. So I like Gobert. Can look to DeAndre Ayton against Portland. Enes Kanter's not the best defender. And then we have some value here with, you can play Thaddeus Young if you wanted to, but his minutes are probably going to be low. Maybe we can look to Wendell Carter's only 53, and then we have Cody Zeller, who I don't think a lot of people get to. He's 52 against Utah. They're going to need Zeller's size out there to match up against Gobert. They also have Biyombo, but they haven't been giving him a lot of playing time. I do like the price decrease on Zeller. He's went from 63, 64 down to 52. The matchup is not the easiest one, but you can still score some fantasy points against the Jazz at centers. You're like the 11th best team at limiting that, but still think Zeller at 52, potentially to get a double-double because Gobert doesn't leave the paint. And his minutes have been low against Golden State. They went small with Draymond at the 5. Against the Spurs, they also went pretty small as well. So it's a matchup where they'll probably need Zeller out there for 28 to 30 plus minutes, depending on if he stays out of foul trouble. And he's a guy that does give you some upside. It's been limited recently, but hasn't had the best matchups. The minutes haven't also been there. So I think if you want it to be a bit different, you can take a shot on Zeller, and I feel pretty good that he'll be able to hit you at least 5x, possibly get you 6x or more. So these 6, what I'm looking at for now, go ahead and touch on my FanDuel plays. All right, FanDuel, starting off at the point guard position, we have Luka Doncic, 11-2. Then we have Lillard at 10-5. FanDuel, it's easier to pay up for one of the two. I think Doncic looks a little bit better. Both guys look fine, but I just like the matchup for Doncic a little bit more. So I like him a bit more than Lillard. I like him more than Westbrook. John Wall's 85. I don't think I'll really want to get to that price tag. I still like Chris Paul a lot. He's 75. He's cheap on FanDuel. He's been playing great. Matchup is excellent. And a lot to like with Chris Paul here. I like him more than LaMelo. I like him more than Ja Morant. And then the value range, we have Kobe White and Kendrick Nunn. I like Kendrick Nunn at 56. I'm assuming Tyler Hero is out. Still don't have Goran Dragic. And yeah, not a lot of guys in the 5K range besides Nunn and White. Conley played 22 minutes in his return. I think they'll still keep him limited. So even though he's cheap, I don't think he gives you like a 40-point ceiling. And then don't have any cheap play I want to get to. It's a position where it's pretty top heavy, and then we have some value. So I still want to get to Luka on FanDuel at 11-2. I think there's definitely an easy way to fit him in your lineup with LeBron. At shooting guard, we have 2 guys at 98. They're both priced pretty expensive. I don't want to get to either one. And then we have SGA, who's cheap on FanDuel. I think he looks great at 7,500. We have Devin Booker, if you wanted to go with him, at 77. Rozier, 73. But I just think he's going to slow down at some point. And so I'm not going to him against the Jazz. And value, it's Eric Gordon at 5,300. It's like Trent at 55. But you do have some even cheaper options here with Dort is pretty cheap, and then we have a min-priced KCP at 3,700. So KCP looks good as a cheap play, and then you can go all the way up for like an SGA. It was only 7,500. I think he looks really good because he's very cheap. He should be in the 8K range, so we're getting a nice discount on his price tag. Small forward, LeBron James, 10-4. These are like the three studs I want to get to on FanDuel, Luka, SGA, and LeBron. LeBron's 10-4. He's a no-brainer. You have Jimmy Butler who can pivot to if you wanted it to be different, but I just think LeBron's going to put up 60 plus tonight. Then even though Hayward is a tough matchup, I still go Hayward over Kyle Anderson. Then I don't really ever get to Rui, Bogdanovic. Bridges looks all right as a value. You have some guys in the 4K range that you can make work to get to LeBron, get to SJ, get to Luka with Josh Richardson, Derek Jones, Temple. They all going to play good minutes. And then you have like Finney Smith at 43, who's been playing good minutes, like in the mid-30s. He's very cheap. And that's it. So probably the cheapest I go is Dorian Finney-Smith. Power forward, I love the price tag on Kristaps. Below 8,000 on FanDuel is just really nice in this type of matchup. So he's my favorite power forward play at 7,800. Also like Covington a little bit, but I'd rather get up to Luka. I'd rather get up to Porzingis and Luka, especially. But so I probably won't get to Covington. I just think 7K is at the top end of where I want to pay for him. And then I don't really want to pay 66 for Thaddeus or Tate. Tate would be a play if there's only Cousins is out, but 66 is also kind of pushing it for his price tag. I don't mind going to Kyle Kuzma at only 57 against the Wizards. And then you do have a guy that probably a lot of people get to is Roby at 46. You have Patrick Williams at 48. Both of those guys look solid. And then you have Crowder, who's been playing pretty well, even though he comes off the bench. Maybe they'll start him in this matchup, but whether he starts or comes off the bench, his minutes are going to be around 30, depending on if the game is close. And you have Bertans at 45, who can also get hot from the field, as he's shown in the past. But Roby looks to be the safest, assuming he doesn't foul like crazy. And then center, not a lot of guys to pay up at the top here today, so it's a spot where I don't mind going cheap. Gobert is 81. He looks better on DraftKings, personally. Valanciunas 75. Looks fine, but they're getting some of their pieces back, so less minutes, I think, just for everybody. Cantor 69, I don't want to get to him, really. I think you can go with DeAndre Ayton at only 64. Or you can maybe go all the way down for like a Wendell Carter. And then Cody Zeller is only 48. I think it's a spot that I want to jump on Zeller. I think his minutes should be secure in this type of matchup. He's shown have a decent floor and decent ceiling when he's given those minutes, and I just feel like against Gobert, they're going to need to have Zeller out there for as much as possible. So they're still easy with over 53 left for the remaining 4 spots, and you got 3 studs, 2 good value plays. So feel pretty good about these 5 on FanDuel. And that's about it for the video. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Best of luck, and I'll catch you all later.